Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
And how about some weather whiplash? We made it down into the mid-30s in the Triangle this morning. How about 81 degrees on Saturday? I'll show you the changes that are coming our way.
Tech titan Wolfspeed appoints a new CEO. How the company hopes the veteran leader can help them regain firm footing in the tech field.
Also, peeling back the layers. Senate committee members dissect the preliminary report of the deadly D.C. mid-air collision. The new revelations from today's hearing.
We saw that widespread temperature swing in the 30s this morning. Just take a look at these sunny skies now. Good afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Thanks for joining us. Weather whiplash is on the way. We're going to have a huge warm up tomorrow. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is on the WRAL weather patio with a look at how we will warm up so quickly. Elizabeth.
So this afternoon, it stays cool like it was yesterday. The biggest difference between yesterday and today is yesterday was breezy, and I'm able to stand out here in some short sleeves without the wind, and it's fairly comfortable. Mid-60s in Raleigh for this afternoon, as well as Durham, and then 68 in Fayetteville. It'll be slightly breezy, enough to have a high fire danger, which we'll get into coming up in just a few minutes. What's happening right now is we actually have a flow that's in a clockwise circle across the area, and you can see the blue shaded colors from Raleigh to Greenville to Fayetteville. That's where the wind is still coming out of the north, but it's already in the process of changing a little bit. It's variable depending on where you are, and we'll move it ahead from now, from lunchtime to tonight and tomorrow, and watch what happens. Notice how all of a sudden the wind starts to come out of the southeast and then south, and it turns red, and that's an indication of the warmer temperatures. We'll start to see that tonight, and it'll really kick in tomorrow, and it's that wind shift that makes all the difference in the world. So 66 degrees is our normal high. We saw that yesterday. We're seeing it today, but when the wind shifts tonight, we'll see 80 on Friday and 81 on Saturday. Now we get into Sunday and Monday, and it's a whole other story. A cold front approaches, and we have the chance for some severe storms. I'll walk you through what to expect for the second half of the weekend and early next week with that severe threat coming up.
Elizabeth, thanks. A local semiconductor manufacturer is looking to turn things around. Wolfspeed announces its new CEO today. Robert Feuerle brings a wealth of experience to the position. WRAL Sean Gallagher is live in Durham, where it's headquartered. And Sean, how will this impact operations there?
Well, Renee, over the last year, Wolfspeed's stock has really tanked, dropping some 80%. So they're hoping this new CEO will just totally turn things around. Now, the company says Robert Feuerle will take over May 1st, and this comes months after the company eliminated hundreds of positions, the majority of which here in North Carolina. The chip manufacturer faces some uncertainty, though, with President Trump's administration suggesting more than $50 billion in chip manufacturing subsidies could be cut as part of the administration's efforts to lower the deficit. But Wolfspeed says its company is viewed positively by this administration.
Wolfspeed is certainly viewed as a critical component of national security. It's a silicon carbide is on the Department of Energy's critical compound list. So we really think that there is definitely open ears in Washington on ways to help fund us.
And Wolfspeed says the federal subsidies might change rather than being eliminated, but it is something they will continue to monitor. Now, Feuerle's salary is $750,000. Sounds like a lot, but for a publicly traded company CEO, it's actually not that much. A lot of his compensation is tied into incentives with stock options, trying to incentivize him to turn the company around to make it better for them and him as well. In Durham, Sean Gallagher, WRAL News.
Sean, thank you. Investors are trying to shake off the talk of Trump's auto tariffs. The Dow Jones Industrial Average down about 120 points. S&P 500 stagnant. The Nasdaq down 40 points at this hour.
The Department of Health and Human Services is cutting 10,000 full-time employees. That's on top of the 10,000 workers who took buyouts and early retirement already. The cuts are part of a dramatic restructuring at Health and Human Services, which includes the CDC, FDA, and National Institutes of Health. The department says the new cuts will save the department $1.8 billion per year. The overhaul also includes consolidating 28 divisions into 15 divisions. Social Security Administration is walking back some planned changes for benefit recipients. New and existing beneficiaries can file a claim over the phone if they can't use an online portal. The administration previously said they would have to do so in person. Now, this impacts people applying for Social Security, disability insurance, Medicare, or supplemental security income. Other applicants still must verify their identities at a field office. The changes now take effect April 14th instead of March 31st.
School safety and the impacts of federal funding cuts are big topics for hundreds of school leaders who are meeting in Raleigh today. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey explains how they're preparing for changes.
Hundreds of school administrators are meeting here at the Raleigh Convention Center today. They have several topics to cover on their agenda, including ways to keep your students safe. Today, the governor and the state superintendent are joining in on this conversation. They're sharing their initiatives for public education.
My budget will lead North Carolina to being the highest in starting teacher pay in the Southeast over the next 2 years. It also rewards experienced teachers to incentivize them to stay in the classroom.
This is all a part of the North Carolina Association of School Administrators Conference. This conference is happening as the future of the Department of Education is still in question. We spoke with the executive director of the association, Catherine Joyce. She says this week school leaders are brainstorming about how to handle possible federal funding cuts.
If we do see cuts that come from the federal level, there's going to have to be some stopgap measures. So we will be having those conversations as this legislative session unfolds.
Joyce says schools will need support from both the county and the state level if federal dollars aren't available anymore. So that's why some of the folks from this conference met with state lawmakers yesterday. Joyce says that the state superintendent will update local leaders about federal funding this week. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
The Durham School Board will talk tonight about Superintendent Anthony Lewis's plan to balance the budget. The district is facing a $6.9 million budget deficit. That is much less than the original estimate of $34 million. Durham Public Schools saved millions by cutting 15% of each department's budget at the start of the year. School leaders say the deficit comes from unbudgeted staff positions, charter school funding, child nutrition costs, and master's pay for teachers, among other places. Tonight's meeting gets started at 6:30.
And here on the WRAL Live Center, we've just learned that Durham announced a hiring freeze. The district announced on Tuesday to all of its employees that this hiring freeze will be through the end of the year. This affects all positions except exceptional children's positions, transportation personnel, and state mandated positions. A DPS spokesperson did provide us a statement saying this is just a temporary measure. It helps them focus on reviewing our hiring needs for the school year. Now, the hiring freeze does not affect employees that will begin on or after July 1st.
This morning, a Senate committee reviewed the preliminary report of the deadly mid-air collision over the Potomac River. The NTSB revealed more than 15,000 close calls over that airspace in the past 3 years. WRAL's Megan Glova has been listening in on this testimony and joins us now with what has been shared about it so far, Megan.
Jeff, 8 weeks since that collision, lawmakers are hearing from a few different people this morning about what happened plus what the government can do to make sure this does not happen again. The NTSB is already determined the Army helicopter was flying too high, possibly because the pilots had bad altitude data. The crew in the chopper might not have heard air traffic control instructions to pass behind the jet. It's also possible the crew may have turned off their ADSB transmitter, which broadcast a precise location. Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz and Washington Democrat Maria Cantwell have sent letters demanding answers from the Army about how often and why their Blackhawks have operated in and around D.C. without transmitting location data.
Why you would allow this design. This is the wrong design. Whoever said you could fly in this airspace this close together without a safety feature that was already being required by the FAA and then giving them an exemption makes no sense. So why did you allow it to happen?
So I can't speak to why the previous administration may have allowed for that memorandum of agreement, which is why we, effective today, will require in any DCA Class B airspace, ADSB out, to be turned on, except in very limited circumstances.
And the families of these 67 victims were there for this hearing. The NTSB hopes to wrap up this investigation within a year. Back to you.
Hopefully this will lead to change. Megan, thank you. Tonight, Duke is taking the court in the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament. The Blue Devils are the top seed in the tournament's East region. They'll play 4-seeded Arizona tonight in Newark, New Jersey. Tip-off is scheduled for 9:39 p.m. Duke played Arizona earlier in the season and beat them in Tucson. The winner of tonight's game will advance to the Elite Eight on Saturday to play either Alabama or BYU. All three of our Triangle women's teams will play Sweet 16 games tomorrow. Duke and UNC will be playing each other in Birmingham, Alabama. That game's at 2:30. And NC State will be in Spokane, Washington to play LSU. Tip-off for that one is at 7:30.
Next at noon, going to Greenland. The purpose of the visit from Vice President J.D. Vance.
Also, tariffs and TikTok, how President Trump may lower them to cut a deal with China.
Plus, auto trade wars, the president's latest order to up the tax on imported cars and what it means for Americans.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
And we bring you back with this live look. Pinehurst Resort and Country Club, home of the famed Pinehurst #2. No doubt some folks out there this afternoon, a little chilly this morning, but we got over that. As you watch WRAL News, available on Hulu and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device.
President Trump repeated his intention for the U.S. to acquire Greenland ahead of a high-profile trip by Vice President J.D. Vance and his wife. It originally was supposed to be a cultural visit for the Second Lady. Now the trip has a sharper focus on national security. NBC's Molly Hunter reports from Greenland.
Good morning from the most northern capital in the world. We're 150 miles south of the Arctic Circle. We're in Nuuk, Greenland. You can see we're on the Nuuk Fjord right now. Icebergs, 80% of Greenland is covered in ice. It is the least densely populated place on Earth. About 56,000 people live here. But when the Vice President and the Second Lady and a high-level U.S. delegation, including National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, fly in, there will be no grand welcome in the Capitol. No American flags flying, no photo ops with locals. They're not going to that national dog sled race that originally we thought that Second Lady Usha Vance was going to go to. They are now going to fly to the remote Northwest to a space base. They will meet with about 150 U.S. military personnel who are based there, and that's been there for about 75 years. It is the first line of defense for Russian or Chinese, for example, ballistic missiles coming across the Arctic. As far as the Greenlanders we're speaking with here, they say finally people know where they are, where Greenland is, and who they are, that actually people live here. Our taxi driver this morning was joking that actually previously, when you said you're from Greenland, people asked, do people actually live there? So people here like Americans, like their ally America. They're eager to attract American investment, but most of the people we've been speaking to since getting here on the ground don't want to actually be American. Molly Hunter, NBC News, Nuuk, Greenland.
It looks beautiful there. A new report from the FAA reveals that pilots reported more than 12,000 laser strikes last year. That's more than 35 times a day on average. The FAA report says beams from laser pointers and similar devices can incapacitate pilots. The agency says pilots have reported 328 injuries related to such incidents since 2010. Shining a laser at a plane can lead to up to 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine.
Public TV and radio executives were called to testify about federal funding and how they cover the news. The heads of PBS and NPR were among those who testified. Republicans like Marjorie Taylor Greene accused NPR and PBS of, quote, brainwashing, while Democrats made the case for supporting the two entities.
The Corporation for Public Broadcasting is using taxpayer dollars to actively suppress the truth, suppress diverse viewpoints, and produce some of the most outlandish, ludicrous content.
PBS stations are focused on the needs and interests of the viewers they serve. Especially in rural areas, PBS stations are the only outlet providing coverage of local events.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, an update to a story we've been following since 2017. 4 prison employees were killed back in 2017 when 4 inmates tried to escape the Pasquotank County Correctional Facility. New this afternoon, we are learning one of those killers, Jonathan Monk, was sentenced to death for the murders this week. Veronica Darden, Justin Smith, Jeffrey Howe, and Wendy Shannon were all killed after a failed escape attempt from that detention facility. Mikel Brady and Wiza Buckman were previously sentenced to death for the murders. The 4th killer and final suspect, Seth Frazier's trial, is set to happen next month.
President Trump says he may reduce tariffs on China in order to close a deal for TikTok's parent company to sell the app's U.S. operations. A national security law requires ByteDance to shed that business or face a ban in America. The president signed an executive order in January to delay the deadline to April 5th. Now he says he may extend that again. President Trump has previously said he wants the U.S. to keep 50% ownership in TikTok through a joint venture. Well, charging a Hyundai vehicle, electronic vehicle, just got a little bit more convenience, with all Hyundai and Genesis EV owners soon being able to access more than 20,000 Tesla charging stations. Hyundai plans to send free adapters, but drivers must meet certain criteria. To qualify, owners must have a My Hyundai account and own an eligible Hyundai electric vehicle that was purchased or leased before January 31st, 2025.
GameStop plans to close a, quote, significant number of locations this year. The gaming store did not give a specific number or location of the stores. GameStop has closed hundreds of stores over the past several years because it has struggled to adapt to customers' changing habits of buying games online and streaming. As the chain pivots from retail, it will get into Bitcoin as a Treasury reserve asset. Frito-Lay is issuing a recall for a product that could be harmful to people with certain allergies. The product was sold in 13 states, including here in North Carolina. The recall impacts 13-ounce bags of Tostitos Cantina traditional yellow corn tortilla chips after a possible contamination of undeclared milk. These bags may include nacho cheese tortilla chips. The recall does not affect any other Tostitos products.
Steph Curry and Michelle Obama are teaming up, launching a healthier sports drink. Mrs. Obama launched Plezi Nutrition in 2023 following her Let's Move campaign. Plezi Hydration has no added sugar and less sodium, as well as more potassium compared to Gatorade. Curry and his wife Aisha, who has a culinary background, who are instrumental in creating that drink, both will serve as brand ambassadors for the product.
Tariff tailspin. A series of levies from President Trump could result in spiraling car sales. What the tax on import parts could mean for buyers.
Reducing cancer risks. What role does sugar play in a possible diagnosis? A registered dietitian explains why the answer isn't so straightforward. Here are your winning NC Education lottery numbers on your screen right now. We'll be right back.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Germany's economic minister is calling on the European Union to issue a decisive response to President Trump's latest tariff plan. The president's latest order calls for 25% tariffs on U.S. car imports.
Robert Habeck says that will harm the U.S., the EU, and global trade as a whole. Amy Kiley explains what this means for Americans.
If tariffs hold, you are going to see increases on automotive prices.
Most economists say Americans are in for sticker shock if the president follows through on newly announced auto tariffs. A proclamation he signed yesterday says they include 25% duties on imported assembled vehicles starting April 3rd. It says tariffs on parts will begin no later than May 3rd.
Americans will keep their cars longer. They'll have to. They won't be able to afford them. they'll also have a lot less choice.
Analysts say the tariffs could make it cost prohibitive to sell certain cheap imports in the U.S. They also predict price hikes on American-made cars due to the tariffs on parts. But the White House says parts that comply with the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement will get a temporary exemption. It says officials need time to implement a system for those tariffs. Anderson Economic Group predicts eventually the cost to produce a vehicle in the U.S. potentially could rise up to $12,000.
So it may fall in the first instance on the American manufacturers.
All cells, including cancer cells, need sugar for energy. So should we avoid sugar to reduce the risk of cancer? Dietitians say there is no research to suggest that directly eating sugar can cause someone to develop cancer or impact the growth of cancer cells. Instead, they suggest we remember the body needs a specific type of sugar from carbohydrates to function properly.
Things that people think, probably aren't so good, like soda or ice cream, but even things that are better carbohydrates like fruit and bread, whole grain bread specifically, some of those carbohydrates get broken down into a sugar called glucose. And that's a good thing. Systems like our brain and our muscle regeneration actually operate best if it's got some of that glucose.
Dietitians recommend we pay attention to added sugars, which do not naturally occur in foods and can contribute to obesity as well as other health issues.
A mother's health and lifestyle choices could have a serious impact on their kids. That's according to a study by researchers at the University of Edinburgh in the UK. It says children whose moms are obese are 3 to 4 times more likely to be obese themselves in adulthood. It also says if a mom smokes, it increases their children's risk of adult obesity by at least 60%. More research is needed to figure out the early life factors that influence obesity. A new report shows tobacco control measures have saved millions of lives nationwide. The American Cancer Society says anti-smoking campaigns and cigarette taxes have prevented nearly 4 million lung cancer deaths over the past 50 years. Findings showed more than 2.2 million expected lung cancer deaths were averted in men and 1.6 million in women during that time period. Overall, more than 76 million years of extra life were gained among Americans.
This was captured for the first time. New images show
Summertime is a busy time for big concerts, events, and games. Unfortunately, that also means there are many opportunities for ticket scams. The Better Business Bureau is issuing an alert to help protect you before you spend your hard-earned money. With so many big names announcing tours, the BBB says we also have to watch out for big scam artists as well.
It's really important that you check that website because a lot of these people pretend to be the venue, but they're not.
There are some steps you can take to avoid concert scams. Buy your tickets straight from the box office or official website. Watch carefully for shoddy websites trying to imitate the real thing. And use a payment method that comes with protection, like a credit card.
27 more Starlink satellites are now up in space today.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition.
A SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket blasted off from California last night with those satellites going up. And Starlink now has more than 7,100 satellites in low Earth orbit. They provide high-speed internet to people all around the world. Scientists are getting a new look at the auroras around Neptune for the first time, thanks to the James Webb Space Telescope. The Webb Telescope captured the glow of aurora activity on either side of Neptune's equator. The images could not be seen by earlier telescopes or spacecrafts. This discovery will allow scientists to study aspects of Neptune that have previously been out of reach.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center today, the EPA have announced that they have completed work supporting FEMA, the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and local health departments with Hurricane Helene efforts in western North Carolina. Now, their efforts included removing hazardous materials from land and waterways, assessing the storm's damage to more than 250 drinking water and wastewater systems, and also assisting the city of Asheville in restoring drinking water service to 150,000 people. They said they are very proud to have been part of these recovery efforts.
And speaking of Helene, it's been 6 months since the hurricane hit our state, and some people have been living without power or water for months, dealing with dead ends and red tape in western North Carolina. Tonight, hear what is taking so long for people to get the help they need. WRAL investigates tonight at 6. While in western North Carolina, Governor Josh Stein will pay tribute to the lives lost. He'll visit the Fairview Volunteer Fire Department in Buncombe County, and he plans to honor the 106 people who died in the flooding when Helene devastated the region in September.
Right now, Elizabeth Gardner is out on the WRAL severe weather patio with a lot of sunshine, bathing that garden out there, which is perfect coming off of the week we've had, Elizabeth.
Definitely. We'll take a look here at some of the other cameras around the region. At Fayetteville, Raleigh, Apex, Chapel Hill, all looking gorgeous. Just lots and lots of sunshine. There were a few clouds out this morning, but we're just cloud free out here on the patio. Chapel Hill's courtesy of Top of the Hill Restaurant this lunchtime hour. Our next weather maker is a cold front that comes through on Monday, but ahead of the front on Sunday, we could see round one of some showers that roll through. It's only a 30% chance. I wouldn't expect a whole lot out of that on Sunday, so the weekend's not going to be a washout by any means. And what we see on Sunday should be, again, just late in the evening and fairly light. A better chance for severe storms on Monday, and the timing on Monday looks more like evening. So let's take a look here. We'll kick things off Sunday morning at 9 a.m. and it looks dry. We push it ahead to mid to late afternoon, and a little bit of green does show up on the radar, but it doesn't look like anything terribly intense. But if you did have outdoor plans, it could be a little messy in the afternoon. We'll pause it here at 7 a.m. on Monday, and it looks like there might be a little bit of lingering rain, but then here comes the front, and this is the front that's going to deliver enough lift and energy in the atmosphere for that threat for severe storms, and that's likely to happen during the evening hours, maybe around 5 or 6 o'clock, all the way up until midnight or 1 a.m., and then it looks like it slides on out. We're waiting on our severe weather threat. The Storm Prediction Center, which issues that threat, that level 1 through 5, issues those sort of in 3-day increments, so day 1, day 2, and day 3, and then out ahead of that for day 4 through 8, they just give you an outlook. And so this is just an outlook and potentially a level 2 risk when we do get to Saturday and we have a closer look at what will happen Monday. So here's a look at it again. Here's kind of the outline of where that potential severe weather could be, all the way from the Gulf Coast all the way up to almost Pennsylvania there, and including all of North Carolina. We definitely could use some rain. How much rain will we see? The models are showing maybe somewhere around ½ an inch between Sunday and Monday. I feel like that's maybe running a little bit low, maybe a ½ an inch to 3/4 of an inch with 2 rounds of rain. We'll see how it goes. We definitely need rain. This is a look at our drought monitor, which came out today. The yellow shaded area is abnormally dry, and the brown is moderate drought. Really not seeing much of a change from the last couple of weeks. We still have some rain that fell about a week and a half ago that was 2 to 4 inches. You see the green shaded area. So we're at normal or a little bit above, just right here near the triangle. But on either side of that, we're looking at anywhere from about 50 to 60% of our normal rainfall. So most of the state is looking pretty dry. Tomorrow and Saturday, highs will be near 80 degrees. Great day to get outside Saturday, so green light for outdoor plans. Sunday, we have the yellow light on because we could see that potential for some late day showers or thunderstorms. Temperatures drop a little bit on Sunday and Monday with that chance for rain. And then on Tuesday, the Durham Bowl, it is the home opener already on Tuesday. That's April 1st. Temperatures will be a little cooler in the upper 60s.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Floating to Fiji. Researchers say they know how ancient iguanas arrived on the island. Coming up, how they survived the 5,000-mile trip. As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we're following today. A local semiconductor chip manufacturer is looking to turn things around. Wolfspeed announced its new CEO today. Robert Foyerla will lead the company. This comes months after Wolfspeed eliminated hundreds of positions, the majority of which were in North Carolina. Wolfspeed is headquartered in Durham. Foyerla will start May 1st.
The Durham Public School Board will talk tonight about Superintendent Anthony Lewis's plan to balance the budget. The district is facing almost $7 million in a budget deficit, much less, though, than the original estimate of $34 million. Durham Public Schools saved millions by cutting 15% of each department's budget right at the start of the year. Tonight's meeting, it gets started at 6:30.
Tonight, Duke is taking the court in the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament. The Blue Devils are the top seed in the tournament's East region. They'll play 4-seed Arizona tonight in Newark, New Jersey. Tip-off is scheduled for 9:39 tonight. Duke played Arizona earlier in the season and beat them in Tucson. The winner of tonight's game will advance to the Elite Eight on Saturday to play either Alabama or BYU.
The NHL playoffs are not far off, and you can watch the Carolina Hurricanes against the top team in the league, the Washington Capitals, right here on WRAL. Their superstar Alex Ovechkin is on a mission this season. He needs just 6 more goals right now to break Wayne Gretzky's all-time record. He'll be with the Hurricanes next Wednesday. Who knows where that number will be, but they'll be trying to lock him down. Watch the game Wednesday night at 7 right here on WRAL.
One lucky lottery player is $349 million richer. A Mega Millions ticket sold in Cortland, Illinois. That's in DeKalb County near Northern Illinois University. A one-time payment equals $161 million. This is the 4th Mega Millions jackpot winner from Illinois since June 2021. Remember, you can watch the drawings right here on WRAL every Tuesday and Friday night at 11.
For decades, scientists have debated how iguanas arrived on the island of Fiji, and now we know. Researchers say genetic evidence suggests the ancient iguanas might have floated on vegetation, possibly composed of uprooted trees or plants. That journey from North America to Fiji could have taken anywhere from 4 to 12 months. So how did they survive? Experts say many iguanas can endure extreme heat, starvation, and dehydration. They're pretty tough.
Time to meet our pets of the day, a pair of bonded brothers from SPCA of Wake County. Tucker and Buddy are looking for a home together. These litter mates found themselves at the shelter after their previous owner could no longer care for them. Tucker, the one with the white nose, likes to jump on your shoulder and ride around like he's king of the world. Buddy is just as friendly and enjoys being near you, not on you. Tucker and Buddy share a single adoption fee of $120. For more information on them, please visit spcawake.org.
5 on your side has been keeping track of the important recalls that affect your family, and coming up on WRAL News at 4, the critical recalls in March you need to know about.
NBC News Daily is next on WRAL, your next local news update in 30 minutes.
And you can get breaking news updates anytime with us. Our WRAL News app is the place for that. Have a great day.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air channel 34 and Spectrum channel 1257.